Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. This is Story the Black Conservative checking in for another video. And today I want to talk about what the Amber Guyger case says about the black community or the black community in America. But I'm going to go ahead and just give a little background. So Amber Guyger was a Dallas police officer who lived in Dallas, Texas. And one night she was coming back home from work, and she was on her cell phone. She was not paying attention, so she went up her apartment. She went on the wrong floor and went and knocked on the door, went through a door that she thought was her apartment. She got in. She saw another gentleman. She saw a gentleman, an African American, a black gentleman, who was sitting there having his ice cream, and she shot him. So according to the investigations and all the information that came out through the trial, her defense was that, she thought this was her apartment, and she thought the person who was inside her apartment was an intruder, and that's why she reacted quickly and pulled out a gun and shot the so-called intruder. But as we know, he was not an intruder. It was his apartment. He was on his couch having ice cream, and this lady just walked in and shot him. So yeah, this has been it's been a hot topic case. Why? Because one, she's a white individual, and two, she's a police officer. Fast forward throughout the trial, she was found guilty. She was found guilty of murder, sentenced 10 years in prison. So of course there are a lot of people, especially people in the black community, that did not accept that. They raised their hands up in the air. They're like, no, this is not fair. This is racial injustice. This is because she was white and she was a cop, and the other individual on the other side was black, and that's why she got this sentence. And to make it worse, the victim's brother actually forgave her. When this happened, you had a lot of people, actually there's black racial hustlers come out of the woodworks and saying that, blacks are so forgiving, and we've been trained and we've been conditioned to forgive white people despite all the injustices that have been going on against us. We're still forgiving. And I'm here today to tell you that this is not true. Blacks are not forgiving. I mean, if black Americans were so forgiving, one, why do they still talk about slavery till this day? Why not just talk about the present day issues and get over slavery? And two, if they were so forgiving, then why were a lot of people, especially blacks, on social media, Facebook, Twitter, going crazy about this case and asking and recommending that this lady get hanged and get shot and, get 50 years for shooting another black man, despite the fact that it was proven that it was an accident. The shooting was definitely an accident, but, blacks didn't care. Why? Because one, she's white, she's a police officer, and the victim on the other side was black. So, familiar with ADOS. ADOS is ADOS. It stands for American Descendants of Slaves. There's this movement that's been going on for the past year, I think, about, ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, Black American Descendants of Slaves, getting some type of reparations. And usually they love to divide themselves from the other blacks, usually black immigrants, Jamaicans, immigrants from Africa. They love to separate themselves from those people, So my point in saying that is this victim's parents are not American descendants of slaves. They're not. But majority of black Americans on social media, Facebook and Twitter, use this case for their advantage. They use this case to highlight the so-called injustices happening against blacks in America. They use this case to make their case about police brutality, about white supremacy. So they milked the hell out of this case. And my point in saying that is they used this case, but the victim was not he was not an American descendant of a slave. His parents are not. I think they're from Haiti or some part in some country or small nation in the Caribbean. I can stand corrected on that. But they use that. However, if you see someone like Candace Owens, who was actually born in this country, who's risen up in popularity, and she talks a lot about the Black community and finding solutions for the Black community. A lot of Black people usually go against her, and they usually call out her her not being an American descendant of slaves. Why? Because she has connections to the Caribbean. I mean, if you don't know this, Candace Owens has some type of connections to the Caribbean. So my point is that most Black people get on Candace Owens for not being an American descendant of slaves, but they'll turn around and then milk the hell out of this other case where a Black man was killed by a white officer to make their case for racial injustice. And they forget that the victim was not an American descendant of a slave. So, I mean, are you following this? Do you see the hypocrisy in this? So please, if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. This is Story of the Black Conservative, checking out. Thank you.